For a couple of years. I'm so happy he's here today. This talk is called The Road to Seven Figures, Building a Multi-Million-Dollar Service Business. He has more than 25 years of experience managing teams in the home service industry. He formerly was a vice president of operations at a global manufacturing company and owner of a cleaning and restoration company. Now he's the owner and director of education at Super Tech University, a company which trains technicians and managers soft skills for all home service verticals. In his spare time, he is the co-host of the Blue Collar Nation podcast. Please welcome our good friend, Mr. Eric Springer.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Morning, everybody. Can you guys hear me? Is my mic on? No? Because I have it on mute. That's why. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Michael, you made me sound way cooler than I really am. But yeah, we want to talk about growing a business to seven figures, right? You know, most of us, when we start our business, that's what we want to do. I know Howard was talking about that. Katie obviously was talking about that as well. My clicker's not working real great, but yeah, a little background. Horrible student in high school. Liked to play sports, didn't really like to study very much, right? So didn't really know what my future was going to hold because everybody kept telling me kind of I'm an idiot, right? So I'm like, uh-oh, I got problems. And then I got my first home services job. And that changed my life. And I got that in high school. And all of a sudden I went, oh, there's something that I can actually do well. This is super cool, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about that job in a second. Left that, became VP of operations at a golf simulator manufacturing company. But really I was running technicians again there. We were doing installs all over the world. And I started as an installer, started as a tech, and worked my way up. Left that career, started a cleaning and restoration business. Larry, everybody can see Larry with his fedora and his orange jacket. Larry's my college roommate, by the way. We've been doing this deal for almost 40 years. And we started that business, sold 5 years ago. And since then, been doing some coaching, and we have Super Tech University, and obviously the podcast. So that's a little bit about me. The road to standing here was rocky and rough and all the other things that I think we all can relate to. But I mentioned my intro into home services. I had the good fortune of answering an ad in the newspaper. I'm dating myself by that, right? And it was a job cleaning swimming pools. And I went to a place called Crispin Pool Service, and I'm just like, I just need a little beer money, right? That's really what I'm trying to do this for. And I met a guy who changed my life forever. His name was Dick Crispin, and Dick was on it. Like, he understood what it took to have a good home service business, and like, I'm a clueless kid, right? I don't know what that means. To put this in perspective, most pool service companies have like one van and a cleaning utensil in the back. Dick now has 55 vans, largest pool service company in the state of Maine, where I grew up. We worked at places like this. Anybody know who lived there?
Bush.
Yeah, this was his other house when I was working there, right? Yeah, 41. I used to go clean the swimming pool, and 41 would be out there hitting golf balls at the neighbor's house that I would clean after his, and they would be on the phone, like, giving each other a hard time, like, I am going to hit you, right? And they were just, coolest guy ever, right? So, how did we get jobs like that? Right? That's a big deal. All of our customers were like that. We were up and down the coast of Maine working in multi-million-dollar homes for people that you'd actually see on the news at night, right? Because we had the Crispin Pool Code of Conduct, and we had to go through this every single day. He would check our uniforms to make sure they were neat and tidy. I have never cleaned my vehicle more than I did at Crispin Pool. We had to wash it every single day before we went out. We had to practice client interaction, which is something I'm going to talk about today. He would literally make us stand in our little shop and go over ringing the doorbell and looking the person in the eye and talking to them. I mean, we're all like 19-year-old kids. And he's making us into people that can go serve people like President Bush. And then he used to give us 2 Ziploc bags for every job, every single day. And we had a leave it better policy and a lost and found bag. So when you go clean a swimming pool, you get the little skimmer thing, right? And then there's quarters and pens and all this junk that falls into the pool. He would make us bag that up. Go ring the doorbell and say, I know this stuff probably doesn't mean a lot to you, but we don't ever want to take any of your property off this site. Here's what I found in the skimmer. Right? What does that do? That's a positive moment of truth. That person's like, this is the greatest company on earth. We also had a leave it better policy. That was our second Ziploc bag. We had to find a rock, a leaf, something out of place on that person's lawn, put it in the bag, and bring it back to Dick and put it on his desk and say, I left that job site better than when I came. Right? He beat this into our head that we were serve, serve, serve. I made $3.65 an hour, and it was the best education of my life. It changed my life. I wouldn't be standing here right now if I didn't get that job. I don't even want to know what would happen to me. But enough about me. Let's talk about you. How many people started their own business in this? Right? So let me guess, you went on Facebook and started a home service business? It's all private jets and fancy cars and cool houses, right? You know, guys scaling up HVAC businesses like Ishmael Valdez, 120 million a year in 7 years or whatever he made, right? Is that our reality? No. Do you even remember? Howard talks about this all the time. This is where I learned this. Do you even remember why you started your business? I started my business with Larry to get the private jet and the fancy car and the house and all that. And the next thing I know, I had a crummy job. And I was out at midnight pushing a carpet wand. And that wasn't why I started that business. Howard talks about this. I'm a protege of Howard, by the way, if nobody knows, right? And you almost forget why you started in the first place. You just get in the grind, right? Is it a dream or is it a nightmare? For a lot of us, it becomes a nightmare and we feel stuck. We feel like we can't go anywhere. That's why I wrote the book about the 7 figures. We'll talk about that in a second. He's my co-author right there, doing the digital marketing part, right? I have an upcoming book, The Road to 7 Figures. Does anybody know what percentage of businesses in the United States reach 7 figures? 5%. Imagine that. 100 people start a business and only 5 ever get to $1 million a year in revenue. Like, we go on Facebook and it looks like everybody's doing 50 million, right? 5% of people are ever reaching $1 million a year. Why is that? Because the owner runs out of owner. They start to stall because all of a sudden they can't be on every job. They can't take every phone call. They can't do everything. And all of a sudden they're stuck at 200,000, 400,000, 500,000, and they can't get past it because they just don't know the skills. Howard mentioned earlier today, Larry and I called him when we were at 200 grand. Because apparently 200 grand was our ceiling for the two of us without any information. Howard started giving us information. We did 900,000 more in the next 9 months. I just needed a roadmap. I just needed somewhere to go. I'll implement, but I need to know where to go, right? And I didn't know where to go. So we can't go over everything that's going to be in that book today. Certainly can't go everything that I've learned in the last 30 years, but I want to go over a few things. I want to go over our money mindset, making it not about price, branding for the win, and theater equals money, okay? So, starts with the money mindset. Like for all of us, we deserve to have money. If you take the risk of starting a business, don't you deserve to have money? Right. That's why we do it in the first place. Right. So we deserve to have money. We deserve to have a comfortable retirement. We don't want to be out at 80 pushing the wand because we still have to, right? We want to do something else. We deserve to take a nice vacation. Look, when I started my business, I didn't take any vacations. I couldn't afford a vacation. I had to go out and work, right? That's not why I started. You should be able to own a nice home. Provide for your families. That's why we do this. It's the American dream. But you can't sell at high prices unless you believe you deserve it. And I see that in this industry more than any other. Because I work in plumbing, electrical, heating, right? In our industry, we do not price ourselves high enough. We just don't, right? And why is that? Because we don't believe that we deserve that price a lot of the times. I've been there, right? So I have a coaching client. He's a master electrician. 30 years in the field, amazing electrician, great guy. He was selling his services at $255 an hour. And he's like, I just can't get past that. I can't charge more than that. And I'm like, okay, you're a master electrician. How many master electricians in your town? He's like, I don't know, like 3? Okay. So the big guys, how much do they charge an hour? $600 to $700 an hour. And I'm like, and you're at $255? Like, who do they send at $600 an hour? Oh, some kid that doesn't know anything. Oh, so they're good at sales and marketing, right? They believe that they're worth that price. I now have him to $435 an hour. We're trying to get to $600, right? He's had to incrementally believe in himself more to keep being willing to ask that price without fear, right? We have to be able to value ourselves. Guys, it's not about the pre-spray. Bill Yaden was on a Zoom call. Everybody know Bill? He's retired from John Dunn. Bill, nicest guy in the whole world, had a full meltdown with Larry and I on a Zoom call about, if I hear it's about the pre-spray and my secret sauce one more time, I'm gonna snap, right? Look, your pre-spray is not your business. Soft skills are your business. We are in the people business. Harvard study, 85% rule. 85% of all business success is due to good soft skills. Communication, how we look, our branding, our ability to sell, our ability to serve, right? Those are the things we need to be working on. But if you go to most places, if that's a need, right? So 85% of this is what we should be working on in soft skills, because that's what makes us money. But I'll guarantee if I came to your place and looked at your training, probably 98% of your training's technical. There's a disconnect there, guys. We make money by being good at soft skills. So what don't our clients understand? Cleaning and restoration, they don't know anything about it. They literally know nothing about it. Right? You know, if we start talking about dehues and air movers and, you know, all this stuff on how we're going to dry out the house in like great detail, they just glaze over. Like, I don't know. Like, well, what do they know? They know how they feel about the service that we're giving. Yeah. How well did we communicate? Did we look trustworthy? Are they comfortable with the house? What percentage of our clients are female?
87%.
87%, Lisa, of all statistics are made up on the spot. Yeah, I mean, like 80, 90, 100% of our, you know, and most of our technicians are male. So are we creating a trustworthy environment that that person likes to have us in the home? Right? Those are things that, this is the soft skills that build businesses. Right? This is what Crispin Poole taught us. It's why we had George Bush as a client. Right? I got this from Ed Marchicelli, Lisa's in the back. Ed said to me one day, I was visiting him in Colorado, he said, it's always going to be about price until you make it not about price, right? And we have to make it not about price, because if we're going to make it about price, it's a race to the bottom to see who's the lowest. And there's no vacations and homes in that, right? Anybody ever read this book, 0 to 1? Peter Thiel? Yeah, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk business partner at PayPal. He wrote a book. This is not an easy read, by the way. But his concept, his thesis is that in a competitive market, you can't scale, right? Because you spend so much time beating up the competition that you're not actually doing the work that's different than everybody else that takes your business further, right? So in our business, we're not going to have no competition, but soft skills training is something that nobody else is doing. That's your way to scale. Right? This is the way to separate yourself from everybody else. Right? It's not the pre-spray. It's how our people serve their clients. We're people serving people, right? So we had a thing at our company, Shamrock, called guts. And we used to say it takes guts to be a great company, because like Peter Thiel's talking about, I want to control the things that I can control. I can't control the economy. I can't control traffic. I can't control if my client's having a good day or not. But here's what I can control. I can control my grooming. I can control my uniforms. I can control my trucks. And I can control my shop. Right? Those are the things that my clients are going to notice when we go out in the field. Howard talks about this all the time. You go to clean as a whistle, this stuff's dialed in. right? And this is why you can charge high prices, right? So I have a question for you guys. Can that young gentleman properly serve Mr. and Mrs. Millionaire without a whole bunch of training?
Nope.
No way. But we send that kid out for the slaughter every single day. I hope that kid does okay with our client, right? Here's Mike, right? Mike was my best tech I ever had. He came from a broken home in a bum neighborhood, and he didn't have a dad around. And that Mike was my avatar for almost every kid that I ever had come to me, right? Mike's 23 years old, making 19 bucks an hour, barely made it out of high school, listens to hip hop, got a $1,200 apartment. But the thing is that he's got 2 roommates, so they each pay 400 bucks, right? Because they're all broke. And he gets his info from TikTok. Now I'm going to send him to Larry and Jan, who are some real clients of mine. They're doing like $750 a year. They live in a $5 million house. You go in and you've got, the Wall Street Journal on the coffee table, classical music playing. Can Mike manage that? Can he make Larry and Jan happy? He can if he's trained, but I'm going to guess most people don't train him, right? So all of a sudden, I'm sending him in, and he can't win. There's no way. And if he doesn't win, I don't win. And Larry doesn't win, right? So we have to bridge this gap in skills. Now, Mike is the best cleaner in the world. Clean anything. But can he communicate his cleaning and the job well done to Larry and Jan? Probably not, okay? So I'm gonna make sure Mike looks good, that he's not in the hoodie, that he's clean, he's got neatly combed hair, his fingernails and hands are clean, he smells neutral, he doesn't smell like either cigarettes or, Axe body spray, right? My guys were so worried that they smell like smoke, I would pull up to check on jobs and they'd be like 3 blocks down with their shirt off in the park smoking like this. Right? Because they knew they couldn't smell like smoke in the house. I didn't care if they smoked. I just don't want any of my clients to smell it, right? Neatly trimmed facial hair, that was always a thing, right? So, uniforms. Anybody from Utah other than me? Katie's almost from Utah. Right? So this is Any Hour Plumbing. Lisa knows them. 1,400 employees. 200 plus trucks rolling in Utah every single day. And every single guy looks just like that. That's why they have 1,400 employees, right? What's Utah famous for? Mormons. Yeah, thanks, George. Right? What's their uniform look like? A missionary. The most trusted, highly regarded people in the state. And then they mimicked that. That's trustworthy, right? Every one of their guys looks awesome as they roll around town. Right? Who gets paid more? Howard, sorry, I couldn't find your Bubba picture. Who are you paying more? Paul. But what if Chuck's a way better tech? You don't care because you don't want him in your house, right? You're always going to pay Paul more. So we want to be Paul, and then we want to train our people to be Paul. George and Sergio spend time, energy, effort, resource every day at the Best Restoration creating lots of Pauls. Right? I know that. I've known those guys for years. Right? We want to get paid more, so we got to look like the guy on the right. Right? Trucks. Tommy Mello, A1 Garage. Right? Look at that. Dan Antonelli at Kick Charge Creative did both of these designs. Tommy Mello's getting into restoration, by the way, with restorers. He's coming for your soul. Make no mistake. He is going to take the lessons of the grooming and the uniforms and the trucks and the shops that they do in garage doors and HVAC, and he's going to bring that to restoration, and people are going to be shocked what that's going to look like. Anybody that knows Tommy knows that he's coming hard, right? So we got to look good. We can't have the jalopy with the magnet on the side. It's not going to be good enough for us, right? Anybody ever have a van look like this? My wife's sending you home. You pull up to do work at my house, Yana is going to take one look at that and be like, thanks a lot, I'm going to call somebody else, you're out of here. If you can't get your dashboard to look good, you're certainly not going to make my house look good. right? So we got to have our vans on point and have everybody understand why they need to look good. And our shop, and everybody's thinking, why the shop? Nobody comes to my shop, right? You thinking that? Because how we do one thing is how we do everything. If we're having a messy shop and then we expect our guys to have a clean work site or a clean van, it ain't happening, right? I mean, Larry and I used to have a messy shop. And we had to learn, like, we're sending the wrong message to the team. So all of a sudden, we're like cleaning the shop every single day. And guess what? Everybody started looking a little better, everybody started acting a little better because our shop mimicked what we wanted out in the world. Right, so we want our shop to look good. Who gets to charge more? Nordstrom. Every time, right? Look, I shop at both. I think the jeans I'm wearing I probably bought at Walmart, right? But when I go to Walmart, I'm not expecting to pay much for anything. But I'm also expecting no service. Right? I'm on my own. Like, I enter the Walmart doors, it's every man for himself, right? If I go to Nordstrom, boom, there's somebody on me right away. Hey, how can I help you today? What are you in the market for? Pants? Oh, let me take you over and get some pants, right? All of a sudden, I'm getting this level of service. I'm willing to pay for that. I'll pay for that all day. I know I'm paying triple or quadruple what I was going to pay at Walmart. And I'm going to be okay with it, or I wouldn't have gone in the store in the first place. I don't know about you guys. I want to build my business on this, right? If we want to get to 7 figures, we got to be that, not Walmart. Because there's a lot of Walmarts in our industry. And those guys are all battling it out to see who can be the cheapest and who can be the brokest. And I don't want anything to do with that. I learned this at Chrisman, but I also learned it from Howard, the theater of business, right? Howard's talked about that for years, and this was like the #1 thing we did. We practiced this at the shop for hours and hours with our army of mics, right? What are we doing? Every job's a stage and every tech's an actor. Right? I am not going to send that person into a house with no training on how to deal with a homeowner, how to put on a great show, how to make them feel like $1 million, because if I can't do that, I can't charge the price I want, or I can't get that 5-star review, or I can't get that referral. Right? And it's more fair to the technician because they feel like they have the skills to make the client happy. A nervous technician is somebody who's going to make mistakes out there. Anybody ever had a guy where you're having a morning huddle and you go, hey, Clark, you're going to go over to Mrs. Smith's house? She's tough. Like, just letting you know, she's not easy. And all of a sudden you see me going, oh no, like I got to go to Mrs. Smith's house. I don't know what to do. Right? We want to train that person so that if they are going to Mrs. Smith's house, that they know that they can handle Mrs. Smith and make sure she's happy and do all the things that are going to create a 5-star service experience. It's more fair to the client, it's more fair to the tech. Right? Here's at Shamrock, this was our job choreography, right? This is the theater of business. Every time we're going to a job, pick up the phone. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, it's Eric with Shamrock. I'm about to leave the shop and I'm heading your way. My GPS says I'm going to be there in about 25 minutes. Hey, I'm going to stop off at the Starbucks and grab something. Would you like something? Boom. They like me already. They haven't even met me yet. Our guys all had Starbucks credit card things in their vans, right? Every single call, we're offering something before we get there. Because all of a sudden, now they're like, these guys are awesome. Right? I just made my technician's job easier. I made my client's life way better. Then we practiced where to park. Don't just pull in their driveway, because they might have somebody that needs to leave. They might be worried that you're going to leak oil on their paving stones. Right? So we would park on the street. We would practice front door interaction, laying down the mat, shoe covers in hand, looking that client in the eye, feeling confident and excited to speak with them. We would script that front door. Right? Then we would teach them how to do inspections, pre-job education, because if you tell them before, it's education. If you tell them after, it's an excuse. Right? So we wanted our guys to make their job easier by doing education in advance. And then obviously property protection, like especially on restoration jobs, I would have the guys do, even if I couldn't get paid for it in Xactimate, do more property protection that's even needed, because that is the theater of business. That makes them feel like you're taking care of them, right? Rehearsal and role play. That's DJ. DJ was a kid that worked for us. He loved to do role play. I think he was the only kid in my company that liked to do it. He liked to do it so much we made him the role play facilitator. So he would take a small group every single day within our company. We didn't do it all as a group because we needed people to go make us money, right? But we would take small groups daily, and he would sit down and role play that front door interaction, a client being upset, how to sell a carpet cleaning job, right? And he's working with our people in little groups, having them practice. Did they like role play? No, they don't. But you know what? They like the result. They like it after a while because it makes their job easier. And then we also, for cleaning, we did a full home inspection sheet, right? We have a sheet, we have a tool to get them to sell more in the home, right? Because look, we go in the house, there's always problems. And people get so used to it, they don't even see it. So what we did is we made an inspection sheet. And then we would use our CRM like Service Monster and write in when the last time they cleaned every single thing in their house was. Because they think they cleaned the sofa 3 months ago. They cleaned the sofa 3 years ago. And once you bring that to their attention, they go, ooh, what do we have to do to make that happen today, right? So here's my tip of the day for free. Make an inspection sheet if you're in carpet cleaning, and if you do that consistently, you will have add-on sales even with your technicians who don't like to sell, right? This is easy stuff, right? And we would practice them doing the inspection and then showing the client what was going on, right? And the client would just buy, right? DISC. Game changer for me. We learned it at Howard's conference 15 years ago, probably. Larry and I were at a point in our career where we were busy and we were at each other's throat and we were fighting all the time. Dr. Robert Rome came to Howard's conference and started talking about people's personalities. And all of a sudden, Larry and I are looking at each other going, huh, he behaves that way. It was all Larry's fault, right? And then I remember at the end, and like we had gone to this conference really not in a good place with each other. Like we were ready to kill each other. And we just turned around and quietly said, sorry, man. Right? Because all of a sudden, Larry, look, Larry's got a fedora on and an orange jacket, right? He's totally different than me, right? So Larry thinks one way and I think a different way. And all of a sudden, we're starting to have friction. But it's not Eric and Larry. It's Eric's style versus Larry's style. It takes the personal out. We took this back to our team and started training it every week, right? So all of a sudden, what are they doing? They know who they are. They can read a client, right? If there's 4 personality types and I go ring a doorbell, I have a 25% chance of getting it right? Like, you know, if I'm a D and Clark's a D, so we're both on the same page, but what if Clark's an S? Right? Somebody who's completely different than a D. I'm not going to be able to serve them well. Our people did not like this at the beginning, just so you know. Like they'd be like, why are we doing all this training? And the next thing you know, one day I heard in the shop, yeah, I was at this client's house. She was a high D. She was busting my rear end. And I'm like, I got him. Right? And the next thing you know, it was their favorite thing that we did every week because they can use this at home. They can use this with their spouse. They can use it with their kids. They can use it at the grocery store. So we trained DISC because we wanted to give a better client experience. And then we sold in packages. I don't like yes, no. I don't want to walk in and be like, well, here's the price, yes or no. I want to say, hey, we have a good, a better, and a best. Right? So I'm going to hit all price points with those packages. Right? Because why? Because I want to hit every price point so that no matter what, they have something that they could afford with me, right? And all of a sudden, we all know this, like the talking stops, and it starts to get kind of quiet, and now I've already laid out my 3 packages, and I'm going to say, you know, if I start feeling to slow down, and we trained our guys this, I would start asking questions. I learned that from Howard. Howard's in the back. That's why Howard has more questions than any human being I've ever met in my whole life, right? But he taught me that asking questions is what gets you the answers that you're looking for, right? So all of a sudden, I've given my 3 things, and I say, okay, George, let's forget about the good, better, best for a second. If price was no object, do you think that we would do a good job for you, right? I'm trying to get them to say yes to something, because if I've done a good job on my presentation, I'm going to say yes. So you go, yeah, I do. Okay, well, let me ask you another question. If you take a company that's similar to mine in reputation, in quality, in Yelp reviews, don't you think we'd be pretty much the same price? And they go, well, yeah. Great, which one of these 3 do you want? Right? Look, I've sold a lot of carpet cleaning that way, right? And too many guys go out with a yes or no proposition, and they walk away empty-handed all the time. That kills service businesses. We don't want to do that. We want to train our people to do this. All right, so I've been flying. So I'm going to leave some time for questions. But here's how we can help, right? If only 5% of all service businesses ever reach 7 figures, wouldn't you like to be one of them? You'd think, right? So I want to give a highlight of a couple of my clients before we move on. So this is Paul and Tina. Paul called me. They have a cleaning and restoration business. Paul called me April 2020. COVID's just starting. He had heard us on the podcast, and he called me up. He said, hey, Eric, I've been at $500,000 doing restoration, including rebuild, for 21 years straight. Clark, is that much money? No, right? Especially with rebuild. And I said, okay. And he seemed like a pretty smart guy. Paul's a smart guy. I'm like, why is he at $500,000? And he goes, if I don't get some help, I'm going to quit. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was like, well, I don't really coach. And he's like, well, would you coach me? Okay, I'll try, right?
Are we talking about gross or take home?
Gross.
Gross?
Yeah, man.
Gross.
Gross. Bro, it was not good. His wife, Tina, was out swinging a hammer, cutting drywall in the middle of the night.
That's a category 3 company.
Yeah, thank you, Clark. Right? 3 years later, that's $3.2 million. Right? Because we started doing every single thing I talked about, we implemented. And Paul, just like Larry and I, Paul and Tina were smart, hardworking, and just didn't know what to do next. That's it. They needed a coach. They needed somebody to tell them what to do next. And then they went and did it. And look what happened. Right? Another person, Levi Gain. Levi's in the inner circle. I'm his coach within the inner circle. He inherited this business from his dad, Doug. Doug was a technician. Doug liked to be on the truck. Doug wasn't a really, business ownery type. I got Levi a year ago as a one-to-one coaching client. He was at 480, which, that was a big improvement over what it had been the previous 30 years. By doing exactly what we talked about, training the technicians how to sell, doing the GUTS program, doing the role playing. He went from 480 to 760 in 1 year. Not many new clients, just getting larger average tickets. Right? We don't always need more clients. Katie's going to disagree with me on this. But you gotta optimize the clients you have. Right? He'll do $1 million this year. I'm convinced, right? Because we're doubling down on now doing that same program plus getting more clients. Scott Turknet, he's in Alaska. Larry and I were just up in Alaska a couple weeks ago. We really said we were coaching him, but we went to snowmobile, not gonna lie. Larry saw a bald eagle eating a moose carcass, which was kind of cool. I missed it. But Scott came to me, and he was at 975, which is good, right? Nothing wrong with that. But he was like, I want more. Like, I'm stuck. I'm plateaued now. I've reached 975, and I can't go anywhere. Well, why? Because he was at that stall. Scott had run out of Scott. Scott hadn't built a team. Scott didn't have people that were really helping him. Scott's running around. He's doing 975, but he's working 100 hours a week, right? So we got Scott to 1.5 in the last 9 months from 975. And that's cool, But Scott actually has a life now. Scott's got little kids. Scott's out snowmobiling. Scott's leaving, and Scott went to Hawaii for 3 weeks and left his team in charge, and everything was fine, right? That's what owning a business like this really means. This is what we want. This is why you guys are here. You've spent time, energy, effort to get here. All we need to do is get to that next level, right? So, where's Michael? Michael in here? Michael, I'm going to pitch a little bit. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask for forgiveness right now.
Go ahead.
All right. So we have an 8-week course that we're doing with Howard and Katie. You didn't have to come up, Mike. I'm just telling you I'm going to do what I'm just going to tell you what I'm doing, right? So we have an 8-week course coming up that's all based on the book, right? The Road to 7 Figures, to get you guys the results that Paul and Tina are getting, that Levi's getting, that Scott's getting, right? We're doing it in conjunction with Howard's Inner Circle. It's going to start May 23rd, 6 p.m. It's a Zoom call, right? And we're going to go through these processes as a group to get these skills in place in your business, right? So what are we going to go over? Creating a proper business plan. Look, a lot of people don't even. We're going to learn how to hire the right people and then keep them. Can't hire them and lose them, right? We're going to do referral marketing. Katie's going to do the digital marketing component. We're going to go sell for profit. We're going to go deep on sales so that you guys can get more money in your pocket. Job costing. I'm a job costing nut, guys. Like Chuck Violan speaking in a little while. Chuck, when I went to Strategies for Success, was all about the job costing. And from that point on, I job costed every single job in the history of our company. I knew exactly how much we needed to make on every job to be profitable. Then we're going to have on week 7, understanding your numbers, going through your financials. Because look, we don't want to do a whole bunch of work and then not keep any of the money. The whole point we want is we want to keep the money and then building and leading a team, right? Because we can't do it all ourselves. If we want to have a 7-figure business or an 8-figure business, we need people trained to pull up the slack like Scott. Scott hired a manager. Scott trained the manager. Scott goes to Hawaii. Right? That's what we want. So the first 10 signups, I'll give an hour of my time to. All right, we'll just do a Zoom call. We'll figure out what's going on with your business. We'll go through the plan. You go through the 8-week course, but I'll get you going before we get there. I charge $497 for that. That will be free. We're also going to raffle off a day in Utah. Where's Bill? Bill's done a day in Utah with me. Was that valuable to you?
You have no idea.
Okay. Yeah, so you know, all you got to do is get yourself there. And we'll sit down in my conference room and we'll work all day long about building that 7-figure business. One person this week at the experience is going to get that. $29.75 is what I normally charge, but you got to get there, not me. I'm not flying you in, okay? But I will take you to a really cool restaurant at lunch, okay? And all of this for just $497, right? So it's less than $500 for 8 weeks of training and an hour meeting with me. And, you know, Howard was generous enough to let us use the Phenomenal Business Growth Planner. So once you're in, we'll go through that for the business planning, and then we'll start going, right? And then it'll all be on Zoom. And here's the deal, guys. If you can't get $497 back out of what I'm teaching you, just in the sales week alone, that's on you. That's not on me, right? You got a problem. That's your problem, right? Because look, you should be able to sell $497 in a day once you do this, right? So I mean, that's what I had with Howard. I used to go in and get 0 days all the time on bids because I didn't know what I was doing. Got some training, boom, selling, selling, selling. So to sign up, Larry's here, Connor's in the back with his super tech hat on. All you guys got to do is go talk to either one of them, and we'll get you signed up. And then look, those weekly meetings. Phil's here, right? Phil Stolfus, is he in the room? No.
He's at the conference. I think he's in another room.
No, I'm boring, Phil. You didn't think it was worth the time. Yeah, so Phil comes to, you know, I've been doing this kind of stuff for Howard for 3 years, and I think the people in there, as you've seen some of the success stories, they're having a lot of luck because Larry and I really want to give. We really, really, really want all of you guys to be successful. So, yeah, please, if this is something that interests you, please sign up. We would appreciate it. And questions? Anybody have any questions for me? George?
We're sitting around a clipboard. If you want to copy the presentation, clipboard, go around.
Yeah, clipboard.
Larry is a high eye, that's the reason that interrupt my question. Really fast, you work outside with your technicians to try to be sure that they use the soft skills with your customers and everything all the time.
We can't hear you.
You train your people to be sure that they outside do the right thing. How you work inside of your business to be sure that your management people can deal with soft skills with them and try to eliminate the really fast turnover?
Yeah, that's a great question, George, and look, not an easy answer either, right? So here's the thing, we have to create a culture in our business where people want to stay. And everybody hates the C word, right? Culture, what's that mean? But the thing is that, look, Clark, you do on-sites just like me. You can walk in that business and in 30 seconds you can tell whether their culture's good or not? It's almost, you can feel it in the air. Right? That you walk in and people just feel good, right? We have to build something that people want to be a part of. We want to have somebody want to stay, right? So George, the best way that we have found, especially, is if we can grow that person up from technician to service manager to general manager, because they're soaked in the culture and they're going to push that forward. Now, can you do that all the time? No. You're going to have to hire people too. But look, as owners and general managers, it's our job to make sure that we're training our group of managers to fulfill all of those things that we talked about earlier and get the people to want to do it, not have to do it. Right? It needs to be a want. Any other questions? No questions? I was so great at explaining this. There's no questions at all? Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh. Go ahead.
Have you implemented any AI into your?
That's a good question. Working on it. Okay. Yeah, just starting, right? Look, I'm 57 years old. This isn't coming naturally to me. So I am definitely on the working on that, and that will be a bigger part moving forward, especially at SuperTech University. Go ahead.
Say, like, if you know, like, I don't know, imagine you walk into the business and you can feel it.
Yeah, you can.
And it's a bad, what's a catalyst for change? Just, you know things are really bad. You don't want to start over, but you almost want to just clear the team and start over. But like, what's a catalyst to get there from a really low point?
You want to know my real answer? Starts looking in the mirror, right? Because if you have a bad culture in your company and you're the owner, it's probably you. Yeah. Right? It all starts with you. We have to take extreme ownership over the situation. Look, Larry and I will be the first to admit, we had a horrible culture at one time. I'm very task-driven. When we first started, I didn't know any of the things that we're talking about today. I used to just text everybody their marching orders the night before, and like I barely even spoke to them when they came in. I mean, how do you think that went?
I should be clear, I'm not talking about my business.
Sure. Yeah, but the thing is, Clark, I'll get right to you. But the thing is that we had to learn that for us to have a good culture, we have to be good. For us to get people to care about our business, we had to care about them. Like, that didn't come naturally to me. I don't think it came naturally to Larry either. We had to learn how to do that and then create systems to implement that. Clark.
What's your name?
Elliot.
So Elliot's got a friend that has a problem running the business. Here's what I think works great, and everybody here can do this. You're here now, whether you sign up for, I wish I could sign up for your 8 weeks, but he doesn't want me on there. I would come cheer him on.
I never said that.
I know you did. Go back to your team and saying, I recognize that we're not as good as we can be, and I haven't done my best, but I'm getting something, and I'd like you guys to participate. So forgive me for not doing my best, but tomorrow's different. So it's that being humble and saying, we're going to get better, and it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But I sense talking to a lot of other business leaders, but that's just what I would say, put yourself on the cross and following that sword. And I think that's what people are like, okay, well, let's go. I'm with you.
Well, you can work with genuine.
Yeah.
People can work with genuine.
Right, and Sergio, I'll get right to you. You know, when Larry and I first started doing the changeover, like to be better owners and you know, more warm to our people, like we were an age that was a different age group than the people that we were running. So Larry and I are kind of geriatric, Gen X, almost boomers. So we grew up like getting a pipe wrench thrown at our head telling us we're stupid, and that's training. Right? And all of a sudden, we're trying that same tact with the people that are working for us, and they're quitting. And we're like, what's wrong with these guys? You know. And the thing is, it's like we had to look in the mirror and say, we have a toxic culture, and that's because of us. Right? So we had to go learn how to lead. Right? We had to go learn the same stuff that makes a good culture. Sergio?
Just to kind of tag on a little bit about what you guys were just talking about, one of the biggest things and like a catalyst for that change, and just like he said about looking in the mirror, you have to believe in that message yourself first, and then to convince all the people that are working with you to believe that message as well, and then that's when that change starts. It took me a couple years to get in the right mindset too. I'm only 25 and I started working full time for my dad when I turned 19. So for the first couple of years, I didn't really believe in the message itself. I was just showing up every day just to work. But then eventually you get into the mindset where change needs to happen, and the only place it can start is within you. And then if your employees can see that you have that mindset going, they'll start to believe in the message as well. And that's something that we've seen change over the last couple of years.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and just to finish before we're done, if there's no other questions. Oh, Bill German's got a question. But the thing is that we as owners have to get trained first and then start training our team, right? We have to become better to get a better result.
I guess I just have a comment. I've been through change culture. This is probably the third time that I've been through it, and I'm not telling any secrets here. Eric and I've talked about this. We can set our mind right, and we can have every intention to go in the correct direction. But I caution and I tell you that change culture is hard. It is hard on you as an owner and as a leader. Right? There's going to be times, and I promise you, there'll be times you're laying in bed at night asking yourself, why am I doing this?
Yep. Yeah, well,
You can't quit.
No, you can't quit,
You can't quit.
and that's why you need help, right? Howard mentioned it for those that were in the first session, that beyond you, the most important person in your business is usually your coach, right? Because you need somebody guiding you down the path to get the result that you want. I mean, if you've been in business for however many years and you kind of keep getting the same result over and over and over, you're probably going to keep getting that result over and over and over, right? Get a second set of eyes. When I hired a coach, look, Santiago at the Inner Circle is still my coach. I meet with him all the time, right? I mean, okay, I'm up here talking, but that doesn't mean that I don't need a coach. I absolutely need a coach. We all do. So, I would just say that I think any amount of coaching that you can get with people that have done it before or done it on a larger scale is a worthy thing for you guys. So please go see Larry, and I'll be around at the show or down in the hall after, and just want to thank you for your time. What's that?
Do you sign stuff up there?
No, Larry.
Okay.
I'm good.
Thanks, everybody. That's going to wrap up the morning sessions. Come back 1:15. Okay, you're not going for lunch right now, by the way. At 1:15 is going to be the old keynote, and we're going to be giving away the Argyle Women in Restoration Awards. So thanks again. We'll see you soon.
Ray, we think I'm a terrible person.
Asking for a friend.
Good.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, just trying to implement new ideas. See how we can.
I guess we're on our own for lunch.
I guess so.
You ever been to Chattanooga? Well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to be in the spot. We want to go for lunch.
Man, I would love to have some lunch buddies today. Sure,
yeah. I didn't want to.
No, I'm on my own, so like I have no one here. So.
Half of up north, I've never been here. I don't know.
Yeah. Sounds great.
We got another colleague here that I'll go at. Get my other colleague and then we'll
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to go to lunch with some people.
Sometimes it is, sometimes
It's just like we've got more guys.
Oh, you are? Oh, you're like where I'm at. So I'm well, that's excellent. So we'll have to talk We'll do it. That's okay. Nice to meet you.